Hi everyone, I'm so excited to welcome you to the first ever TAPPI Young Professionals Division Orientation. My name is Jacqueline Epstein and I'm the chair of the TAPPI Young Professionals Division. Our division was established in 2014 with a vision to help young professionals in our industry to build their professional networks and sharpen their technical and leadership skills. The YP division is really a gateway to all that TAPPI has to offer as an industry association and a launchpad for young professionals across the industry. We have a great event planned for you tonight. First, you'll get to hear from TAPPI's leadership team. Then we'll feature 3 distinguished keynote speakers, all TAPPI Award winners for 2020. Throughout the event, you'll hear from members of our YP Division Leadership Council. They'll be introducing our speakers throughout the evening and telling you a bit more about our division. We also have a fabulous group of industry professionals from each of TAPPI's technical divisions here to meet you and to talk in smaller breakout rooms about their divisions. We hope tonight's event will inspire you, help you learn more about TAPPI as an organization, introduce you to some new people and opportunities, and help you get more involved. It's my pleasure to introduce you to TAPPI President and CEO, Larry Montague, for a special welcome.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Glad to be here with the TAPPI Young Professionals. Wow, how quickly times have changed. Just a few months ago, we were preparing to meet you in person at PaperCon, and I was looking forward to welcoming many of you to your first TAPPI event. Well, now the script is flipped. These are unique times indeed. However, I feel more connected and closer to my friends and family at home and at TAPPI than I ever did before. Learning how to navigate Zoom and other virtual platforms has been more than worth it. It's been life-changing. With these strange times, you're probably finding unique ways to connect as well, whether it's online or 6 feet apart in a room, mask, of course. I can tell because you're attending the Young Professionals Orientation at this very moment. You're on the right track. Use this time to get to know your peers in the industry and get involved. Use TAPPI as a resource to help you navigate your career in this stage of your lives and beyond. Jump on our online community, TAPPI Connect, to get your professional answers to your questions. Access our e-library for white papers and online courses to build your skills. Join other TAPPI divisions and engage with members and volunteers on the technical or programming committee. Continue to attend our events such as webinars and online conferences like the Young Professional Coffee Breaks and virtual mixers. Now is the time to grasp new ways to learn and meet new people like yourselves. The genesis of the YP committee came from several surveys to hundreds of TAPPI members who kept commenting with a passion, I might add, that we needed to get more young people involved with TAPPI. Well, Team TAPPI took on that challenge and discovered that we had a fantastic support from our student chapters. However, we lost them after graduation. We only had their school emails. That all changed with a lot of hard work from TAPPI staff, volunteers, and students. They helped us to gather the correct information to bridge that gap. And as they say, the rest is history. The Young Professionals YP Committee was originally formed back in 2009 as a group committed to fostering young professionals and students in their professional and personal development. That committee became an official TAPPI division in 2014 and continued to carry out that mission forward. In 2018, TAPPI added the Young Professional of the Year Award to its lineup of association honors. The YP leadership has worked hard to develop resources for you to use. I hope you take full advantage and engage with them and the rest of TAPPI. Our goal will always be to help you learn, connect, and grow. With that, I would like to introduce the next presenter, Peter Augustine. Pete is the president of Fabio Perini North America and TAPPI's chairman of the board. Take it away, Pete.
Good evening. I'm Pete Augustine. I currently serve as the chairman of the TAPPI board of directors. Outside of TAPPI, I'm the president of Fabio Perini North America, located in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We're a machinery and services company that supports the tissue converting and packaging industry. Young professional development is a topic of discussion at every board meeting. Specifically, how can TAPPI attract and retain YP members, and what opportunities can TAPPI offer to support the personal and professional development of the YPs? Many of you are making valuable contributions to your organizations today. But it's also true that YPs like yourselves are the real future of the paper industry. We've all heard about things like the silver tsunami, and we may be witnessing the effects of baby boomers exiting the workforce within our companies. This is often painted in a negative light. There's concern about the brain drain and can our companies adapt to the experience being lost. But for all of you, this means a huge opportunity, an opportunity to learn and grow while shaping and leading your organizations into the future. Now you have a choice. You can wait for opportunities to present themselves, or you can take proactive steps to create these opportunities. TAPPI can help you do that, but you have to engage. You're listening to this message today, so I think you're already partway there. I'm here to talk a little bit about why I got involved with TAPPI. I was introduced to the organization shortly after I joined the paper industry in 2001. I came from the elevator industry, completely unrelated, but it was recommended to me by some industry veterans and some paper company executives to join TAPPI as a way to immerse myself in the industry, expand my networks, and hopefully someday influence the future of the industry. At the same time, I was approached by Larry Montague, the TAPPI president and CEO, and he gave me an opportunity to join the board of directors of TAPPI. I was thrilled to even be considered, but I was skeptical of this offer at first. Do I need more to do at this busy time in my life? And why would TAPPI even want a guy like me, new to the industry, to be on their board? I was certainly hesitant to accept such a great opportunity. Why was that? Fear that I wasn't going to be able to contribute because of my lack of experience. Some of the individuals on the board had more paper experience and I was old. And you may find yourself in a similar situation, trying to engage in some of the committees with some very experienced people. But I'm telling you, there's a way around that. For me, I was in my late 30s and I knew I could bring a viewpoint of a younger demographic to the board. I had a different set of professional experiences. And I was in a high growth but underrepresented sector of the tissue industry, and that's tissue converting and packaging. But I still, even knowing that, I came up with some pretty good reasons why I should pass on the opportunity. I had a young family, 3 young boys. I had just moved them for the 4th time for my jobs. I was completing my MBA, and I took a job with very high travel requirements. So a lot of good reasons why I probably should have just passed. But I have to give full credit to Larry Montague, for being persistent and really giving me that push that I needed to get on my TAPPI journey. The results for me personally have been fantastic. I have a widely expanded network. Credibility has been gained for me personally within this industry. And I've been privy to insights into the future of our industry that you wouldn't get just sitting on the sidelines. So had I said no, I could still move about my career and I could move forward. But by saying yes, it really opened up almost limitless possibilities. So I'll be the first to tell you, volunteering and engaging in any organization takes work. This is time and effort above and beyond your day job and your personal commitments, whether that be family or schooling or community involvement. But really, stepping outside of your comfort zone, they say that's where the magic happens. And I have to believe that saying is right. I've had the pleasure of being part of the TAPPI annual award ceremony for the past few years and seen firsthand the lifelong connections people have formed by being a part of this organization. Award speeches are full of thanks from the winners to their friends, their colleagues, their mentors, their bosses. Many of these people met because of their involvement in TAPPI. If you're a current volunteer, I can't thank you enough. But I could ask you go even one step further and encourage a friend or a colleague to get engaged. If you're on the fence and you don't know if there's anything for you inside of TAPPI, I ask you to step outside of your comfort zone, jump in and just give it a shot. YP involvement in the TAPPI committee is going to show your colleagues and your company leaders that you have the drive and dedication for your own professional development. You can use what you learn to positively influence your organization from virtually day one. For the small amount of time and effort required, the payback of TAPPI engagement is virtually limitless. So the paper industry needs the next generation of technical experts and leaders to step up, and they need you to do that now. I highly encourage you to say yes to the many volunteer opportunities that TAPPI provides. Your investment of time and energy will benefit you, your organization, and this industry for generations to come. I wish you all the best of luck personally and professionally, and please stay healthy and safe.
Thank you, Larry and Pete, for taking time out to be here tonight. My name is Hamid Majid, and I'm the Director of Learning and Professional Development for the TAPPI YP Division. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our next speaker, who recently graduated cum laude from Auburn University with a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. During her time at Auburn, she was TAPPI Student President and was awarded TAPPI TEMA Student of the Year for 2020. She currently works as an Engineering 1 for Yates Engineering LLC in Birmingham, Alabama, and is slated to take her Fundamentals of Engineering exam in August to become a professional engineer. When she isn't crushing her career goals, she can be found hiking, kayaking, white water rafting, scuba diving, and expertly rapping all the lyrics to Vanilla Ice's Ice Ice Baby. Please help me welcome Lexi Ivan.
Good afternoon. My name is Lexi Ivan. Thank you so much for having me and everyone at TAPPI who have put this presentation together. My name is Lexi. I'm a recent graduate from Auburn. I graduated with my bachelor's in chemical engineering, and I also specialized in pulp and paper. During my time at Auburn, completed 3 co-op rotations with International Paper at their Riverdale mill, and an additional co-op rotation with PCA at their Valdosta mill. So throughout these co-op rotations, I realized how rewarding a career in pulp and paper is, and that's what led me to become TAPPI president my senior year, which eventually led to my nomination as Student of the Year for TAPPI, and that's something I'm still so very honored to have. So a little bit more about me. I'm from Dothan, Alabama, which many of you probably only know if you've had to drive past it to get to the beach. So it's probably not much of a shock to know my mom is from 30 minutes outside of Dothan, Alabama. She was born and raised there. What might come as a shock to you is my dad is actually from the Czech Republic, or during that time, it was still communist Czechoslovakia. So he came here when he was 15. He couldn't speak English, had no plans, and somehow wound up in Dothan, Alabama and met my mom. So all that to say, neither of my parents had a very traditional childhood. My mom grew up in some pretty severe poverty where they spent times homeless, living in cars. She's had to work pretty much since she was 12 to be able to provide for herself. And my dad, not necessarily living in poverty, but having to come into the challenges of living in a new country, not knowing the language. He came here, spent a couple semesters, I think, at actually the high school I went to in Dothan before dropping out, getting his GED, and then started working in food plants at a chicken plant. So both of them worked so hard to be able to overcome those challenges. My mom raised 3 kids, worked full time, and took classes and got her associates in nursing. And then my dad actually worked his way up in the food and beverage industry to be able to become a chemical vendor for the food beverage industry. But anyways, I say all that to say I completely recognize that their challenges are not my challenges, but the reason I have a strong drive to make the most out of every opportunity I have is because of their challenges, to show them that the struggles that they had to overcome were worth something. And that's pretty much explains and defines why I work so hard in everything that I do. So that's probably why in 7th grade I decided to become a chemical engineer, when most other 7th grade people probably have never even heard of chemical engineering. But I chose it, I read about it, and I stuck with it till now. So fast forward to March of this year, and me and my friends were in Tampa for spring break. And that's when rumors were flying around that Auburn might cancel classes. And me and my friends were completely unconvinced that it was going to happen, because we've seen Auburn not cancel classes during a tornado. So sure enough, 20 minutes later, we got the email that said, classes are canceled till the end of March, don't return to Auburn. And at first, we, along with almost every other person in college, were like, wow, cool, 2 more weeks of spring break. But obviously that turned into a few more months of spring break, pretty much a quarantine. So as much as we would have loved to stay in Tampa, we had to return to Auburn. That's where all our stuff was. And we stayed there during the quarantine. Thankfully, I lived with several friends and we were neighbors with more friends. So we kind of all got to quarantine together. But other than that, Auburn was pretty much a complete ghost town. None of the businesses were open besides the food businesses. So I obviously supported a lot of local business during that time. But other than that, we had to transition to kind of ghost town Auburn, not being able to see anybody. After a while, you start realizing that that last class you had before spring break was the last time you'll see any of those people pretty much. So that was something that just kind of hit you. And then transitioning to online classes went either one of two ways. Either, oh, my cat just walked by me, sorry. But either went one of two ways. Either the class was a little bit easier because your teacher didn't know how to use a computer, or it was a little harder, obviously, because it's harder to learn that type of material over Zoom. So I actually wound up with a lot of free time that semester and just had a lot of time to just call all the family, all my extended family I haven't gotten to keep up with very much, and all my friends. Kind of got more free time to pick up hobbies and work out more and all that good stuff. But this was also kind of a scary time to be introduced into the work life, to be searching for a job during this time. Me, thankfully, I accepted my position in the fall, so I was no longer looking, but I did have several friends who even accepted positions in the fall, but their offers either got rescinded or deferred. So obviously the people whose offers got rescinded had to start up looking for a job when they thought they were set in stone since October, most of them. So obviously that was very challenging, not being able to meet anyone face to face, trying to do everything online, not being able to shake people's hands and actually meet them and let them know your personality. But thankfully, all of them have jobs now, most of them in pulp and paper. And another thing is I'm very happy to be able to stay in the pulp and paper industry and be working in it. But one other interesting thing about my time taking online classes during a quarantine was when you're a chemical engineer at Auburn, I'm pretty much would be willing to bet everyone has had this experience happen. So it's spring semester, you're walking into the chemical engineering building, about to study for some finals, and out comes this super well-dressed senior chemical engineer. They just have this bright look of just joy and relief on their face because they just finished their senior design presentation, and you're over here walking in to start studying for your final, and you're probably just thinking, man, I cannot wait to be them. So never on my radar was it that this experience for me would actually go like this. So our senior design presentation was on Zoom, and I had my little business casual top on, had pajama bottoms on, of course, and we did the presentation over Zoom with just a little PowerPoint. And as soon as the presentation was over, we just kind of clicked out of it, closed the screen, and for a second you just sit there and there's this blank screen in front of you, and you look around and you're just in your apartment bedroom alone. And that was the first time I really started to realize, I guess, the extent of the quarantining, the fact that I never really got that sense of completion at Auburn, or that sense of like accomplishment that you would get, because obviously for 4 or 5 years, the whole time you're kind of imagining what it's going to be like on that graduation day, and that's what drives you, is that feeling of that's going to feel so great and to be able to have this great accomplishment. So that is one bad thing about graduating during a pandemic, and pretty much anyone who's had major life experiences during this pandemic. So make sure you call those people, tell them good job, make sure you know that they're thinking about you. But obviously I knew not graduating is not the worst thing that is going on today. So I got over it, I was good. So about the month following graduating and being done with classes, obviously we couldn't go anywhere still because it was still a pandemic. So everyone's, senior trips got canceled. I was finally going to go to check to see where my dad was from and where he was raised, but that kind of all got canceled. But a good thing about that is I did have about a month to just kind of chill, and I didn't have any kind of responsibilities really. And for the first time in like 5 years, just got to relax and like focus on myself and have time to chill. And then during that time, I started preparing for work life. So I moved to Birmingham, and obviously that's been a little affected too. So when I started work, about half of the office was still out from the portion of quarantine when no one was allowed to go to work. So I kind of came to from one ghost town to another, but it was good. About a couple weeks later, everyone started trickling back into the office. We all got our face masks on. We all got gloves and hand sanitizer and whatnot. But something that's funny to me, since you can't really shake anyone's hands anymore, I would volunteer to do temperature scans in the morning. So that's the way I met everyone, was going around and doing temperature scans. And I'm sure everyone who's working in a mill knows that your company's not really doing a lot of capital projects right now. So work's kind of been a little come and go. And I've actually had time to kind of sit and really become accustomed to this new job and everything. So that's kind of honestly been a plus for me, to be able to get my feet wet and introduced into the industry more. So I've definitely loved my work life already at Yates. During my senior year, when my friends were getting their offers rescinded or deferred, obviously I was a little worried. So I would just kept checking in with Yates, and I was making sure I still had a job, and they were always so reassuring and just excited to have me come on. So all that to say, that's a little bit of what kind of coming into a full-time position is during the quarantine. It some ups and some downs, and I'm sure almost anyone listening could relate to my challenges. Everyone during this time has their own challenges, and that's why it's so important just to call those people you love, tell them you love them, have those talks and communication with people, make sure they know you're thinking about them and you love them. And just in general, now is the time to just spread love and love everybody. So thank you so much for having me and letting me talk to you today. I hope you all have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Lexi, for taking the time out to be here and for sharing your experience. Our next speaker is a North Carolina State University alum and the current operation superintendent of Domtar's NC5 fluff pulp machine in Plymouth, North Carolina. His can-do attitude and ability to solve unique challenges led him to be recognized as a rising star in the paper pulp and packaging industry. Earlier this year, he received the 2020 TAPPI YP of the Year award for his significant contributions to our industry in the areas of leadership, problem solving, and community service. His interests outside of work include spending time with his wife and daughter, eating fried pork chops, and dabbing in landscape photography. Please help me give a warm welcome to John Edwards.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being with us tonight, and thanks to TAPPI, as well as the YP board, for organizing this event. When Lena first contacted me about this orientation and asked if I could speak about building a career amid challenging times, I immediately began asking myself one question: what could I communicate to a generation of young professionals that would best equip them to be able to confront the challenges that their career would present them? Because if we're being honest, it isn't a matter of if you will face challenges during your career, but when. And the more I thought about it, the more I came to the conclusion that the answer to that question dealt solely with character. Ruth Haley Barton, an author and speaker, is credited with saying that we set young leaders up for a fall if we encourage them to envision what they can do before they consider the kind of person they should be. In my less than 6-year-old career, I've no doubt come to learn that's true. The fact is, you won't be able to lead anyone if you can't lead yourself. Coming to terms with who you are, what you stand for, and what you want your character to be makes difficult decisions a bit less difficult, because by the time they arrive, you've already decided on a foundation of values and principles that will govern all of your decisions. So tonight, I'd like to offer up 3 values that I believe, if adopted, can help you deal with the challenges that you'll no doubt face during your career. The first is to value people. One misconception that I had when I first started my career with Domtar was that I was going into the paper industry. And that might seem like just the strangest thing for me to say, but the reality was that I was actually going into the people industry. You see, regardless of who you work for, whether you're an engineer, a scientist, or a vendor, you have employees, colleagues, customers, sometimes a combination of all 3. And the truth is, your ability to face challenges and overcome them in your career depends on your relationship with these people. When the people you work with know that you value them and you prioritize their needs over your own, you build trust and you strengthen that relationship. Then, inevitably, when the day or the night comes when you get that call that your pickup felt has just ripped off the machine and is now currently wadded up in the bottom of the pulper, or when you get the call that the machine you work on has just been slated for permanent closure 6 months from now, you'll be able to look to your right and to your left, and you'll see that you're not alone. Instead of having to confront the challenge by yourself, you'll be facing it with the people that you took the time to invest in and the people that you placed value in. The second is to value humility. If you already value people, then this one goes hand in hand. But by choosing to be humble, you put aside your personal pride. You become self-aware of your weaknesses and shortcomings. And you recognize that in order to move past certain challenges, you might need to take a step back and let someone else take a step up. In his book, Good to Great, Jim Collins discusses 5 different levels of leadership, with level 1, of course, being the lowest, and level 5 being the highest, and also the rarest. The most interesting thing about the level 5 category of leaders was that one of the only differences that distinguished a level 4 from a level 5 was that the level 5 leaders displayed extraordinary personal humility. Not talent, not technical expertise, and not business acumen. Humility. In large part, the reason that Collins came to this conclusion was that the leaders who practiced humility were more apt to achieve extraordinary results for their teams because they didn't care who got the credit for it. They were far more ambitious for the success of their organizations than they were for themselves. If we make the decision to value humility, we gain the ability to overcome a list of challenges that might have been made impossible otherwise, because we are no longer shackled by our pride, our benefit, or personal ambition. Lastly, I believe we should value courage. Courage is the fuel for change, for risk-taking, and for confronting new challenges. Sometimes you have everything you need in order to take action, but if you don't have the courage to follow it through, then ultimately none of it matters. Take Wilt Chamberlain, for instance. He was an absolutely phenomenal basketball player. He was the only person to ever score 100 points in a single game. The only bad thing about him was that he was absolutely terrible at shooting free throws. His career percentage was just 51%. Interestingly enough, on the night that he scored 100 points, he shot all of his free throws underhanded, in a form widely known as the granny shot. Now, don't get me wrong. It looks ridiculous, but it's actually way easier to make free throws this way. The night of his 100-point game, he shot 30 free throws and only missed 2. He made 93% of his free throws, and he set an NBA record for points that will most likely never, ever be broken. The problem, though, was after this game and after the 1962 season, he stopped using the granny shot, and his free throw percentage went right back in the gutter. Later on, he would admit that he knew he was wrong for it, but he didn't like doing it because it made him feel silly. Wilt Chamberlain let his fear of being ridiculed stand in the way of his and his team's furthered success. At some point in time, we will all face a similar situation. Fear of being ridiculed, fear of being wrong, fear of uncertainty. The list goes on. Having the courage to push forward with your decision or action that was influenced by your character and values, despite the fear, will lead to more challenges being overcome. So to recap, value people, value humility, and value courage. Every challenge will be different, but that doesn't mean you have to be different for every challenge. As Ruth Barton said, it's important for us to determine the type of person we want to be before we start determining all the things that we want to do. So ask yourself, who do you want to be? What are your values? What do you stand for? Take some time and think about it. Because when the challenges come, and they will come, half the battle will already be won. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for sharing those 3 invaluable lessons with us. Our next speaker started both his career in pulping non-woods and his membership with TAPPI more than 40 years ago. His corporate career began in research and eventually led him to teach papermaking, fiber physics, and pulping and bleaching at the University of Washington for 17 years. He is currently the president and CEO of Sustainable Fiber Technologies, a company he founded in 2015. Under his guidance, the company developed the Phoenix process, an environmentally friendly method for pulping non-wood biomass materials, a process which landed him TAPPI's highest technical honor, the Gunnar Nicholson Gold Medal Award, earlier this year. It is my honor to introduce Mark Lewis.
I want to thank the Young Professional Division for inviting me to have the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Mark Lewis. I'm the CEO of Sustainable Fiber Technologies, and SFT is something a little different out of the box. We are a non-wood pulping company. We're a technology company that license our technology to the industry. We have customers such as Essity, which is the largest tissue and talent company in the world, and others which are building non-wood pulp facilities. But I'm here more to talk about you guys and to talk about young professionals. I embrace the young professionals. There's a picture and an advertisement for the Young Professional Division, which has 3 SFT employees and a former University of Washington student, and Larry Montague in there. So I'm happy that my group is well represented in some of the media there. I started my career many, many years ago, and I worked for Weyerhaeuser Research. And while I was getting my start there, there was a man by the name of Bert Franklin that introduced me to TAPPI. And he didn't work in my division, but he sort of told me the benefits of TAPPI and to look at going to a TAPPI conference. So my boss was very supportive and went to a TAPPI conference. And one of the things Bert told me was, Mark, don't just go get involved. So where I was at within the company, I ran one of the testing labs for them. And so I got involved in the testing division within TAPPI. A few years later, there were a few of us young professionals, I'll use that term, that TAPPI Journal at that point in time, prior to it being 360, did an article on us, Heidi Ramirez, Bill Bond, and myself, of young professionals in the testing division, was what it was entitled. And I like to think of that as the beginning of the young professionals division within TAPPI. Really wasn't, but I like to think of it that way. Bill is still intimately involved in the industry. I'm not sure where Heidi is these days. And TAPPI's done a great job nurturing this young professionals in the past many years. Prior to coming to SFT, I taught at the University of Washington in the paper science and engineering program. Currently, SFT has 8 of my former students, so I would like to think they had some relationship with me that brought them back to me, but it did give me an opportunity to hire the best and brightest of my former students there. I know there's some former University of Washington students that are involved in the Young Professionals Division. And I know the Young Professionals Division gives their awards for, I think, the top 20 or top 30, under 30 or something there. But I've had a number of students that have won that award. It's a great achievement. And while I was at the university, I was faculty advisor, so I really pushed TAPPI onto the students there and the value of TAPPI. But once again, one thing, get involved, not just in the testing division. If you're a process engineer working in, pressing and drying projects, get involved in the pressing and drying division. Get involved in various divisions that are out there. If you're in the craft mill, get involved in the alkaline division. What this does, it gives you the opportunity to meet and start to build a network. Today, we have the opportunity through LinkedIn and others to sort of build this online network. And, I have a pretty decent online network, but it's not like meeting someone face-to-face. It's not like going out, shaking hands, having a beer after a TAPPI session, getting to know someone. And do not be afraid to approach someone within TAPPI at a TAPPI conference. Do not be afraid to wander into a bar and see a bunch of TAPPI folks wearing their badges and say, hey, I'm new to the industry and like to get to know some folks. You mind if I join you? If they're having a business meeting, they'll be like, yes, we'd like to talk to you, but please come back at, give us 15, 30 minutes or whatever. But everybody that I have ever met within TAPPI has been very willing to embrace this group of young professionals. We know that you are the future of this industry. And with that, one of my few words of advice that I will give this throughout this is, I had an expression. I used to team teach a fiber physics class with a very, very smart gentleman I used to work with, a Weyerhaeuser. And we had an expression of bite the dogma that feeds you. And what we meant by that was don't accept we've done it this way, we've always done it this way, and this is how we're going to do it. Look for something different. And there's a lot of things in our industry that have changed because of people biting that dogma and moving forward. Realistically, my company probably wouldn't exist if I just kept things going as wood pulp. And I like wood pulp. Wood pulp's good. But when you build your network use your network. Don't be afraid to reach out. Many of you feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you see me at PaperCon or Peers or another TAPPI conference, please walk up to me. I've tried to meet with students when I've been at various conferences, talking to NC State, Western Michigan, University of Washington, of course, and others. And I know there's a lot of you folks that are not from paper science schools, but feel free. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. And with that, if you have an opportunity, find a mentor. Find a mentor within your company. Find a mentor outside of your company. For probably 15 plus years, there was a gentleman that I met, and I was probably a young professional at that point in time. There was a student, and he was a student from UMass Lowell, who we struck it, had some beers together, had a really good time just sort of hanging out and, talking the industry, talking where things are going and everything else. And, he sent me a very nice thank you letter afterwards. I told him as a student to make sure you have a card. And as a young professional, make sure you have cards with you to hand out. I think most of you know this, but I've had various times where I've just met with somebody and talked with them. I really enjoyed talking with them, and I left empty. And sometimes after about 3 days of meeting 30, 40 folks, you're like, dang, I wish I'd had that person's card to reach out to them. But with this mentor, especially somebody that's outside of your company, and if you have career questions or issues or something that's project related to what you're doing, reach out. It's one of the great things about TAPPI. Yes, there's boundaries that you need to follow within your company and lines you cannot cross. But there are some great folks out there that will remember you, that will talk to you, that may even look for you as you're at these various conferences. They'll look on the list of pre-registrants and try and find you. And reach out to them, look for them as well. And it's a great way to build a relationship. It doesn't mean you will go to work for them. It doesn't mean you want to go to work for them, but it's just someone that you struck a chord with at some point in time that is there to help you. We will always be there to help you guys. So takeaways from this: get involved. Get involved in TAPPI Divisions. Build your network. Build your network and use your network. And find a mentor. And this is a good industry. It's a very good industry. We'll be around for a long time. No matter who says what, we will be. So I want to thank you. Enjoy the rest of your meeting and good luck with your careers. And I hope to meet many of you in coming times when we can actually meet and get together. And I'll probably buy you a beer. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for those inspiring words. Now let's hear from Daniel and Stephen about the benefits of being a TAPPI member.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Fung. I work for International Paper as a process engineer. I'm also with IP as a co-director for member relations. It's difficult enough to start a new career, and even more so in these challenging times. That's why the TAPPI Young Professional Group has a mission to guide and enhance the personal and professional growth of all TAPPI young professionals. We focus on creating a strong emphasis on communication, collaboration, and networking. We aim to create a long-term value for young professionals by helping them to build a strong network, providing excellent and industry-specific education, and offering leadership opportunities. Some young professional benefits that I have personally used, including reduced pricing at $119 per year. Um, I can access to TAPPI Connect and free access to many webinars and publication on TAPPI e-library.
My name is Stephen Bussa, and I am one of the co-directors of membership for the YP division. If you're on your first year of YP membership, we call that a bridge year because it's helping you cross over from a student to a young professional, and you get additional benefits. So those include free access to all of TAPPI's standards and technical information papers, and that's abbreviated to TIPS. And then also membership cost is only $35 for that year, so it's very reduced. And as a general YP member, you also get discounts on yearly membership dues. So that'll be, again, $119 per year until you're 30, and that will go on until after you're 30, you'll be at $174 per year for a professional membership. I know many young professionals are watching their budgets closely, especially during these uncertain times, but TAPPI has been a valuable resource for many companies in the pulp, paper, and related industries for over 100 years. And because of that, we found that most companies jump at the chance to invest in their employees' professional and technical growth. So if you need help asking your company or your boss for expense your membership dues, we have a sample letter for how to get your boss on board in the Become a YP section of our website, and that's yp.tappi.org. TAPPI Connect is another great and unique membership resource. Connect is an online forum that can be used to collaborate, share knowledge, and expand personal and professional networks right from your desk. Since COVID-19 has been keeping us from connecting in person and in conferences at the moment, this resource is even more valuable. There are many different communities and divisions represented on TAPPI Connect. It's a great opportunity to ask very specific questions on topics that you have had difficulty finding answers to anywhere else. In addition to getting technical questions answered, you can ask questions like how to make friends in rural Arkansas, or how does health insurance work? Remember, many people have been in the same position as you, and it's a lot easier to learn from them rather than blunder through on your own. Personally, the YPs and other professionals that I've connected with have given me great advice on how to develop my career, and most importantly, to make sure I am enjoying my professional and personal life. Furthermore, my professional network has exploded since becoming involved with various TAPPI communities. I now have contacts and, more importantly, friends in many different companies across the industry and across the country. You can also use TAPPI Connect to find a mentor. The Mentor Match program matches mentors with proteges. Volunteer mentors provide guidance and assistance for projects achieving career goals, career planning, and general advice and any other questions that a protege might have. Maybe they understand health insurance, who knows? I know I sure don't. For a full list of TAPPI benefits, visit Members tab on tappi.org. Now, I'll turn it over to Lena, Director of Events for the TAPPI YP division, to talk about some of our upcoming events, which will provide some more opportunities to sharpen your skills and network with some new people. Just remember, the more involved you become, the more you'll get out of your membership.
Hi everyone. As Stephen mentioned, it is so invaluable to be an active member of the TAPPI YP division. But due to COVID-19, most in-person conferences, events, summits, and seminars have been postponed. But we understand that building your network and expanding your skill set can't wait until we can be in person again. So we haven't slowed down one bit. Over the last 4 months, we've held 3 virtual networking events, and our 4th one will be on August 26th, so next Wednesday at 3 p.m. This is just a casual, fun way for YPs to get together on Zoom, socialize, and network, especially during these crazy times. In addition to this networking event, we also have skill building events. So if you're looking for an event that's centered on innovation and leadership in the paper, pulp, and packaging industry, then you're going to want to mark your calendars for the PIMA virtual conference. This fall, TAPPI is bringing the PaperCon PIMA track right to your screen. The YP division will be hosting a panel discussion on young professional retention within the industry, and more information and details on how to register and get involved will be sent via email, so definitely keep an eye out for that. And while we look forward to seeing everyone in person at the next conference, seminar, and event, We will still be working hard to bring as much content and networking events and skill building opportunities to you virtually until we can meet safely. So definitely want to keep track of all this. So you're going to have to visit the TAPPI YP website, which is yp.tappi.org, to stay up to date on all of our events. And if you're interested in joining our next virtual networking event or the PIMA event, please email yp@tappi.org. Now, Brennan will tell you a little bit more about our next activity.
Thanks, Lena. My name is Brennan Augst, and I am the Vice Chair for the TAPPI YP Division. I want to thank all our moderators and our keynotes once again for coming out and giving us their time. It means a lot to see all the support for the young professionals. I also want to thank everyone on the YP board and at TAPPI for their work putting this together, especially Lena, who you just heard from, and Lisa Lockwood of TAPPI. As some of my fellow board members have mentioned earlier, the YP division is meant to be a stepping stone for all of the new people in the industry. So even if you're already a TAPPI YP member, we encourage you to find and get active in other divisions of TAPPI so that when you're no longer a young professional, you're already familiar with that next division and its members. So then it's just a seamless transition into that real world. So if you would like to get to know more about TAPPI's other divisions, and especially the roles YP can play in them, we'll be providing more information for you in the coming months on our website, yp.tappi.org. You can also reach out to us directly if you want to get more involved in the TAPPI YP division or need some help or more information about membership resources that we talked about tonight. Email us at yp@tappi.org anytime. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at other TAPPI events soon.